Live from Lookout Mountain, Tulsa's Channel 8.
Someone living in a nursing home. Healthcare providers are now closely watching that case.
We know that patient was diagnosed in a hospital and she's not currently in the nursing home. Channel 8's Tyler Butler tells us more about what the governor said today. Tyler.
Yeah, that was not the only first today. We also learned of the first case diagnosed in a child under the age of 4. But here are some of the things we learned just in the last hour here. The person in that assisted living home was hospitalized 3 to 4 days ago and, as Aaron mentioned, tested positive in the hospital. That person will not be going back to the facility. They will be discharged to their family. Assisted living homes do house the most vulnerable population to the disease, but the state says those facilities are prepared to deal with viruses and stop their spread. So the hope is they caught this early enough. We also learned of a critical shortage of tests here in Oklahoma. Just days ago, the state was saying they could test between 100 to 300 people per day, but now they're saying there is a shortage of the reagent fluid in the test. That's the fluid that basically makes them work. Without the reagent, the test does nothing. So they're reserving their remaining supply of tests for the most vulnerable populations, the most severe cases. That shortage is international, not just here in Oklahoma. So the state is talking, though, with private labs, trying to find some other ways to get tests out there. Their advice to Oklahomans, though, same as it has been: social distancing, stay home if you're sick, wash your hands often, and also don't go to a hospital or your doctor's office if you're having symptoms until you've spoken with a healthcare provider over the phone and they tell you to go to a hospital. Tyler Butler, Tulsa's Channel 8.
And about an hour and a half ago, the Osage Nation announced they're closing their casinos. This not only affects gaming, but hotel operations as well. This starts at all 7 casinos at midnight, including all concerts currently scheduled there. They say they're closely monitoring the situation.
And Tulsa's biggest mall makes a big announcement today. Woodland Hills Mall will be closing until further notice. It starts in about 2 hours at 7 o'clock. Now, earlier, they said they were changing their hours, but now the entire mall is shutting down. Channel 8's Bert Momo live tonight near the mall and tells us why they made this decision. Bert.
It's hard, Mark. It was a rapidly advancing situation. Earlier, they announced that they were going to close just earlier throughout the week on 7 p.m. Mondays through Saturday, and then on 6 p.m. on Sunday. That were the hours that they were putting in place. But then just a little while ago, they announced, you know what? Simon properties across the country, which Woodland Hills Mall is, will now be closed until March 29th. Effective tonight at 7 p.m. They released a statement saying the health and safety of our shoppers, retailers, and employees is of a paramount importance, and we're taking this step to help reduce the spread of COVID-19 in our communities. All of this shutdown of businesses is creating a lot of anxiety amongst business owners. Coming up tonight at 6, we'll hear from the Secretary of Commerce in Oklahoma, Sean Copeland, on measures that they're working on to try and calm the situation and provide relief to people so they know that things will be okay on the other side of this. Reporting live, Bert Momo, Tulsa Channel 8.
First responders are on the front line answering calls for help that could leave them exposed to the virus. We wanted to know how they're keeping themselves safe. Channel 8's Kim Jackson found out there's a task force and a plan in place. She joins us live near 51st and Yale. Kim.
Car 643, go ahead. Well, firefighters just got a call just seconds ago, but from the moment that you dial 911, firefighters are asking questions, doing investigations, doing what it takes to keep themselves safe.
After every call, firefighters are cleaning their life-saving equipment, concerned and afraid of COVID-19.
I'm very blessed to have this job, and everyone I work with here, we are trying to keep it as normal as possible. Now, we're taking every precaution. Obviously, everyone here, our biggest fear is to take it home to our children.
Captain Brody Bowman has a wife and 2 kids, and he also has the job of responding to calls of Tulsans in need.
What we're mainly trying to focus on is to distance ourselves from the patient. You know, we're trying to ask them to come to the door if they can, and we try to stay outside to keep that distance, and then also try to screen them.
They also have these black bags in case they need them.
This is a new thing for COVID-19, and so when they come on the truck, they're sealed. Have a little plastic seal on them so that the crew knows no one's been in them.
Andy Little says they're sealed for use one time only, full with goggles, wipes, gowns, and more protection from exposure.
If we suspect that they could have COVID-19, we have a kit on the truck, and one person will don the protective gear we have and they'll go in and assess the patient.
Any firefighters on light duty are now part of a cleaning crew that travels from station to station. They're like a family. They eat together, all sleeping under the same roof, answering calls for help. And right now, they're doing the best they can.
And we just saw firefighters in action. They are on a call right now, but they're actually responding to fewer calls these days because the ones that are less life-threatening or less serious, they're letting IMSA handle those. Live in Midtown, Kim Jackson, Tulsa's Channel 8.
Today, local leaders of the Catholic Church say they need to take action. The Diocese of Tulsa is suspending all public masses and liturgies beginning on Friday.
ORU is now disinfecting after announcing a contracted worker who's been on the campus tests positive for the coronavirus. University says he did not come into contact with any students, and he was not in student housing or the cafeteria. ORU says a shop area is closed and all machinery is being thoroughly cleaned. Anyone he worked with has been sent home.
And as we've mentioned, local businesses trying to find ways to stay afloat during this pandemic. Channel 8's Amy Jensen spoke to one business owner who's making her store digital.
It was a quiet day at Witty Books, and the store owner doesn't expect it to change much right now.
It's scary, but we're just going to do our best.
Victoria Moore and her husband and their pup, Bean, opened the bookstore about a year and a half ago.
We live over here. I lived over here for a bit when I was a kid, and we love the neighborhood. We were really excited to be a part of the community.
Right now, though, her community in the Kendall-Whittier district and everywhere across the state is doing its best to deal with the COVID-19 crisis.
This is kind of when we started to pick up after the post-holiday slump last year, so it's definitely worrisome.
But she's finding ways around it. Moore is in the process of putting her bookstore online.
We have a lot of work to do in terms of listing every individual book's description, page count, whether it's hard, like just all of the specs about everything.
It's something she'd been wanting to do, and she now has several books on the website with hundreds more to go. But she says this puts less people at risk.
We're offering online sales with either in-store pickup or delivery. Like we can do front door delivery for people in Tulsa, or we can ship for just like a small shipping cost.
While hopefully keeping her business out of the red during this crisis. Reporting in Tulsa, Amy Jensen, Tulsa's Channel 8.
Moore is still deciding whether she'll keep the store open during the outbreak. If she closes the storefront, it will be temporary. We have more information on the status of Witty Books and other businesses in the area on our KTOL website.
This is also having a huge impact on our borders. The government now scrambling to stop the spread of coronavirus. Channel 8's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman brings us up to speed on the protections being put into place.
Between the White House, Congress, medical field, and major industries, decisions on life and livelihood being made on a minute-by-minute basis. Now doctors can practice across state lines, but the U.S.-Canada border closing. And on the Hill, negotiations to pass $1 trillion in aid, putting checks in Americans' hands. As for the individual dollar amount,
to be determined. We're working with the Senate right now. We're working with everybody on Capitol Hill.
Meanwhile, strategizing over how to avoid airlines being essentially grounded or worse, bankrupt.
I don't know if you've been out to Reagan recently. It's a ghost town.
Nick Callio, CEO of Airlines for America, represents 750,000 employees and says 10 million other jobs feed off of that. They're now cutting management salaries, taking down flights, and taking out loans, though no furloughs so far.
We assume that by next month, we will be bleeding as an industry, among the major carriers, passenger and cargo, about $10 to $12 billion a month.
A month?
A month.
And in New York, where the USNS Comfort, a hospital ship with 1,000 rooms, will go, Governor Cuomo ordered all businesses to keep at least half of their staff home, but still urging calm.
Worse than the virus is the fear that we're dealing with and the rumors and how they spread, and I'm going to be quarantined, I'm going to be locked out. That's not going to happen.
Some of the debate possibly slowing matters here on Capitol Hill. Should those proposed payments to Americans only go out to those who will miss paychecks due to the crisis, or to every adult across the country in hopes of boosting the economy? On Capitol Hill, I'm Scott Thuman.
The pandemic has drastically changed everyday life for all of us, leaving a lot of us feeling maybe panicked. The FDA is trying to help restore some calm, saying there's no reason to be emptying the shelves at your grocery stores. Officials insist there are no nationwide food shortages. They're urging Americans to only buy enough food to last a week. The agency says low supplies on certain items like toilet paper will be restocked soon. Regulators have lifted some restrictions on the trucking industry to keep merchandise moving across the country.
From the Oklahoma Ford Storm Center, your first warning forecast, certified as Tulsa's most accurate weather.
I expect severe weather as we get into 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, but the next several hours fairly nice out there. We saw breaks in the clouds today. The temperature is just out of control. Temperature right now is 15 degrees warmer than we were at this time yesterday. Overnight, Tulsa's in the slight, areas to the southwest in the enhanced risk. That's a level 3. Right now, things are fairly quiet. A little bit of rain down near the Sulphur area. There's heavier rain and thunderstorms down near San Angelo and Lubbock. That'll be moving in our direction. Again, the next several hours, don't expect any severe weather. That happens during the early morning hours. Look how warm it is. We're at 77 degrees right now. If you're going to be out and about, I know you're not supposed to go downtown, but if you're picking up a food order, there you go. Temperatures will be pretty nice. 70 degrees coming up at 9. A lot of folks live downtown. 11 o'clock, 68. We're going to talk about a 30-degree drop in the temperatures. I'll tell you when that's going to happen coming up.
Coming up next at 5, a lot of people are now faced with working from home.
But that may sound a lot better than it really is. We're giving you some tips about how to handle distractions that come with being at home.